So there we go. I don't want you to worry because the ruffly bit can be a little bit fiddly, which is great because it's a nice thing to be able to teach. But I don't want you to get worried. So when you're working through, if you get a bit behind, I don't want you to get stressed out. Just don't worry, keep watching, work at your own pace, and then I will share the recording with everybody as soon as I can. I'll try and get it out straight afterwards. It'll take a little bit of processing time. And then you can just watch it back as many times as you like at your own pace, and then make as many ruffled items as you like. So I think we're going to get started. Have you got your fabric, Charlotte? What fabrics have you got?
So I have got double gingham. I've got green for the main body of the cushion, and then the mustard for the ruffle.
I love the mustard gingham.
Love this combo.
That's what I've got as well, with a linen fabric for the main bit. So you should all have, now I'm working with slightly smaller pieces of fabric. I have made one again this afternoon, which is full size. So yours will be about this size. Kind of roughly a 40 centimetre square cushion. But I'm working for the workshop with slightly smaller pieces of fabric. And that is so that when I'm using my overhead camera, you can see the whole piece of fabric. So it'll be much more clear for you to see exactly what's going on. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not sure, I'm going to close my waiting room bit now. Should pop up on screen. Sorry, just so that you're all full screen. Okay, so you should all have the main square piece of fabric for the front, which I think for you guys is 42 centimetres squared. Then there's two pieces for the back, which measure the same size. They are 43 by 37 centimetres. There's two of those. That's for the envelope for the back. Oh, I need those first actually. And then for the ruffle, you should have two long skinny pieces, which are 18 centimetres in depth, like this. And then these two are 145 or 140 centimetres long. But that's because that was the width of my fabric. If yours are 110, I think I put in the description, you'll need a little bit more. Basically, it should make up about 200 and like just under 3 meters. But because it's a ruffle, it doesn't really matter. So you don't need to be exactly precise about that length, because the more you have, the more ruffled it will be, and the slightly less ruffled it will be. So you don't need to be too precise with the length of that ruffly bit of fabric. Yeah, is that all good?
Great.
So we're going to start off with, if you take the two pieces of the back pieces of fabric, so they are 43 by 37 centimeters. So I'll just get one of those in front of me now. You should have with you as well some pins, which will be indispensable. And you will also need a tape measure, I think. Yes, we'll need a tape measure. And of course your sewing machine as well, and some scissors. I'm going to switch over to my overhead camera now so that I can show you how we're going to pin and sew the first of the back pieces of fabric. Like I said before, any questions, just pop them in the chat and I'll try and keep my eye on them and get back to you. But also, you know, just take it easy, relax and enjoy. So, oh, that kind of worked. Right, so this is one of the back pieces of fabric. So mine's slightly shorter, but if you imagine this will be the 43 centimeter edge, and then down the sides I've got the 37 centimeter edges. My fabric is the same on both sides, so there's not really a front or a back, but if yours has got a front and a back, you want it to be right side facing down. So this would be the wrong side facing up. And then along one of the 43 centimeter edges, you want to do a double 4 centimeter fold. So the best way to do that is to fold it 4 centimeters and measure the fold over. So rather than faffing around and trying to do, okay, that's 4 centimeters, fold it at that point, it's much easier just to fold it over and then measure that fold and check that that fold is 4 centimeters, and then fold it again the same amount. I'm just going to do mine slightly less because I'm working in miniature version. So once you've done that and folded it, you can pop a pin in, and then you want to pop pins all the way along so that your hem goes all the way along that 43 centimeter edge of your piece of fabric. And then once you've done that for this piece, you need to do the same for the other matching piece of fabric. Right side down, Dorothy. Yep, that's correct. So this will be your wrong side facing up, and that's the nice neat right side over there. If you are watching this back on record, what you could do now is press that hem if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do that because we don't have time and space or the inclination, quite frankly. So there's one of those done, and I'm going to repeat exactly the same process with the other piece that's the same size. So shall I tell you all how much money we've raised? It's really overwhelming. I can't really quite believe it, considering because we only charged £10 a ticket. I just didn't really, I don't know what I expected, but we've raised £840, which I just can't believe. Like, it's just completely exceeded any expectations I might have unknowingly had. So thank you, everybody, so much. It's so amazing that we can have a lovely time and feel like we're doing something really positive as well, I think. Yeah, thank you. Okay, right, both done. Charlotte, how are you? I'm going to use you as my game.
Yep, last pin going in. Done.
Brilliant. Could you hold it up so I can see? Yes. Oh, perfect. Brilliant. Okay, so I have threaded up my sewing machine already, and I've threaded up with some really lovely hot pink thread, which actually might look quite nice. But the reason I've done that is so that you can clearly see my stitching on here. Obviously, normally I'd have a coordinating thread. But what we're going to do is sew these hems down here. So normally you'd kind of measure where your stitching is, how far it is in from the outside edge of your fold, but instead what we're going to do is line up the left hand side of the presser foot with the left hand inner side of that fold. So I'll bring my sewing machine over and try and show you what I mean. Ooh, hopefully this will behave. Oh yeah, there we go. Oh no. Okay, so I'm going to line up the left hand side of my presser foot here with the left hand side of that fold. Can you see? And then I just got my machine set to straight stitch. So we want to sew all the way down, take the pins out as you go, and make sure you do a little bit of reverse at the beginning and at the end to make sure that your stitching stays in place. I'm sewing at a really awkward angle here, so if I don't sew in a completely straight line, please don't judge me. Oh, we're in sync, Charlotte. Did you just finish one?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I quite like the mustard and the hot pink. It's nice, doesn't it? And then same for the other piece as well. Right. Are you done?
Yeah, done.
Oh, well done. How's your sewing machine doing? Because you said you've not used it for a little while.
Yeah, I haven't used it in a good few months. So I had to give it a little bit of a dust off. Even with its cover on, it still manages to get dusty, doesn't it?
Yeah, they just do. I think they attract it like some kind
Yeah.
of crazy static. They just every time.
Yeah.
And I suppose it's all the fibers from all the fabric and stuff, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, yeah.
Probably. Right, I've snipped all my ends off. So once you've done that with those two pieces of fabric, you can just pop those to one side for the next few minutes. Oh, I just love doing this. I just love it when everyone comes together and does something the same. So exciting. So let me see. I'm going to try and gauge from pictures if I think people are still sewing or not. Oh, there's lovely Lauren from That Happy Life. You did such lovely stories. Thank you, Lauren. That's so kind of you. Fiona, hello. Leslie, I think you were on last night's workshop as well. So nice to see all these familiar faces. Okay. I'm going to do the next step. Maybe do a thumbs up if that's okay. I don't want to leave anybody behind at this early on, you see. If I get a handful of thumbs up, I'm going to crack on. Or can you do thumbs up on here? Or maybe just write yes on the thing. I don't know if you can do thumbs up. Or reactions. Yes, in reactions. I'm not getting it. Okay, yeah. Give me a little nod when you're ready. Oh, yeah, we're getting a few through. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to crack on. Okay, so next, we're actually going to do the ruffle. So it's a little bit tricky. This bit isn't. This bit's not too tricky. This bit's okay, but there's a little bit tricky in a minute when we have to kind of fit it. So I'm going to switch back to overhead camera again, because I think that's much easier for you all to see what's going on. Come down a bit over here. There we go. Okay, so we've got, actually, no, I'm going to go back up again because I think that's better for you to see more. There we go. So we've got two long, thin pieces of fabric. Now, what we need to do is place those on top of each other. Which hand am I here? Place those two pieces of fabric on top of each other with the right sides facing together. Now, so again, it's really tricky for you to see with this fabric because it's exactly the same on both sides. But imagine that it wasn't. You'd have the right side of this piece on the bottom facing upwards. And then for the piece that we're going to place on the top, you want the right side facing down. So it's right sides facing together. So if I was to turn it over, both pieces now on top of each other, turn it over, you're going to have the wrong side at the top and the wrong side at the bottom, and the right sides facing each other in the middle. And then at the two short ends, I would like you to pin, where my pin's gone, over here, pin the fabric together. So just pop a couple of pins in, well, 2 or 3 pins in on one end, like that, and then go all the way to the other end. And then pop some pins in through both layers on this short end as well. There we go. Oh, someone else just arrived. There we go. And then what happens with the 3 pieces? Oh, with 3 pieces, John, thank you very much for that question. You want to just, so you'll have 3 seams like this, and all of them, they'll have the right sides together. So you'll have one seam like that. So mine is slightly different because one of mine is shorter. And then if I move along, you'll have another seam like this, with like that. And then, so all together, it's kind of making a big loop like this with the right side on the inside. Hopefully that makes sense, John. Thanks for asking that question, because I forgot to remind you. Okay, so then once you've pinned those down, we just need to stitch down these hems with, I've included the selvage here, which I might cut off actually because it's so dark. So if you stitch these with a 1 centimetre seam allowance, so 1 centimetre in from the edge with straight stitch again, and just make sure you reverse at the beginning at the end. That would be grand. I'll try and move my camera over again. Is that all going okay for you, Charlotte?
Yeah, that's good. I'm just going to stitch and cut off my
yeah, you've got the same as me because it's quite dark, isn't it? I don't want it to show through the fabric. Okay, so I'm going to do 1 centimetre in from the edge. Oh, your sewing machine sounds so cute. It sounds like a little like kitten sewing machine or something. It's really sweet.
This was actually my husband's granny's sewing machine. So yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely.
I know, it feels so lovely every time I use it.
Imagine all the things it's made.
I know.
Oh my God, that's so nice. That's the good thing about the old ones. They just go on forever and ever.
Yeah.
Oops. Okay, so sorry, just tying a knot. Once you've done that, just trim the ends of thread off again. I'll bring you back round to here. So once you've done that, oh, Hannah Ratnett's raised her hand. Hi, Hannah Ratnett. Do you have a message that you might like to put into the chat? Or does that mean you're just done? Or maybe you're just waving. Hi back. Hi. Oh. Okay. I think it means we're done. I think it means we're done. Yeah. Okay, so let me trim off all my bits of thread. Brilliant. So now you should just have a big, well, I should have said, just be super careful to make sure that none of the bits of fabric are twisted. It was, yes, Hannah, right sides facing. That is correct. And you should have one big kind of a like loopy ring of fabric. I should have said, be 100% sure that none of the bits of fabric are twisted. I bet somebody has, and I tell you what, it could have been me on any. It's not today, thankfully, but it could easily have been. Well, hopefully it's not. No, it's not. Just make sure none of the bits of fabric are twisted. And then again, if you're watching the recording and you're catching up, at this point you could press open these hems here. I'm just going to kind of like quickly finger press them open, and they should stay like that. They're only small like that. Because you want those to be open, really. So if we do that, and then the next thing we need to do is, I'll do it here so I think you'll be able to see properly. So this is the wrong side facing up of the ruffle trim. Are you with me, Charlotte? Are we good?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just pushing my seams. Yeah, so wrong side up.
Yeah, and we want to fold it in half this way, so it is wrong sides together. So you've got the right side facing out. So if I turn it over, you'll see this is going to be right side on both sides, and then wrong side within that folded in half. And then you can pin, so that we want to continue that fold all the way around the fabric. So you don't need to put too many pins in at this stage, because I'm going to ask you to do something else in a mo. But if you just put pins in every now and then, so that it's kind of folded the right way round. And again, if you're doing this on catch up, you could fold and press as well. Of all of the ruffle cushions that I have made, I haven't pressed any of them at this point, because I'm the kind of sewer who just likes to crack on and get things done, which is probably not great, because actually, you know, sometimes it's really good to stop and press things. So if I had a bit more time, I probably would press at this point, but I'm working under pressure, you know. So we'll just carry on. Here we go. And then at some point you'll get back to where you started. Oops, there we go. Okay, I'll give you a couple of minutes just to do that, because you've got more fabric than me. Oh, so I don't know if you will follow.
Is there any fabric that you wouldn't recommend for a ruffle?
Well, it's easier if it is just a nice, plain and simple, light to medium weight cotton.
Yeah.
Maybe or linen. So anything, I think somebody said that they were going to do one with velvet, which is going to look stunning.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, but it will, but the thicker fabrics will be a little bit trickier to work with. The technique that I'm going to show you to make the ruffle is slightly easier, but you wouldn't want to do it with anything like denim or anything that's too kind of rigid, because you just wouldn't be able to get, if you think about it, you want it to be able to kind of ruffle up. So it needs to be quite soft and quite lightweight. Yeah, the fabrics that I have used are, I've used double gauze, so really thin, kind of buttery, musliny type cotton with a couple of layers. That's worked really nicely. This one here that I did earlier on today is with linen. That looks really nice. And then, yeah, I've made a few with gingham because I just love it so much. So yeah, but if you're following on at home and your fabric is a little bit less well behaved, just take your time, don't rush, because you'll find it much easier if you just take it nice and steady, and you can, like I said, you can watch back, so don't worry. Okay, the next job, I can see a couple of people, I think, ready for the next step.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Elizabeth, I like your camera angle. It's like an action shot in your sewing machine. That's so cute. So what we need to do now is, hopefully I can demonstrate this to you on with the camera like it is, but if you fold, let me see if I can bring the camera up a bit. Yeah, there we go. So fold you've got kind of a loop of fabric like this, fold it in half on itself. So you've got folded end at that end, and if we go to the other end, there's a folded end at this end. Yeah. And then, so what I want you to do is put a mark on that folded point and on this folded point. So kind of, so that's almost chopping it in half sort of thing. So you can use a fabric pen or tailor's chalk if you've got it, or I'm just going to put a pin in, but the pin is going to be at a completely different angle to all of the other pins that I've put in. So I'm putting it near the open end. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to put it at the folded end, sorry. And I'm going to do it perpendicular, so it's going this way. So this is the folded end here, and this pin's going out like that. And I'm going to do the same at the other point, just to mark those two like halfway points on.
So do these want to be where the seam is or not where the seam is?
Oh, excellent question. Yeah, they can be where the seam is, if you like. Pop them where the seam is. Let's do that. Good idea. If you've got 3 pieces, you could put it on one seam and then just wherever the other halfway point is, which won't be on a seam, of course. So I've got the halfway points pinned there and there. And then we want to actually break it into like quarters. So I'm going to open out the loop, and where those 2 halfway points were, here and here, I'm going to match those 2 up with each other like that. So they're sitting on top of each other. And now if I flatten the loop again, then the 2, so I've got these 2 pins on top of each other in the center point. And then at these other 2 folded points, I'm going to put 2 more pins in. So then if you think about now, those 4 pins have kind of marked the quarter way points all around that loop. So the reason we're doing this, I'll just explain it to you a little bit now, just so that you know, is so that it's going to be much easier. So when you're pulling a ruffle, the longer the ruffle piece of fabric is, the harder it becomes. So you run the risk of snapping the thread, or of just it's just much, much harder to manage. So what we're going to do is ruffle it kind of in quarters, so that we've only ever got a quarter of the loop to ruffle at once. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense.
Oh, good. I've not said that out loud before, so you know. Have you got your 4 pins in, Charlotte?
Yes, I've got my 4 pins in. Kathleen's just said, can you explain that bit again?
Okay, yeah, I will do. So, do you want me to? I'm going to do it from the beginning again, just because, you know, why not? So, you've got your loop of ruffled fabric like this, which is all pinned in half with the right sides on the outside and the wrong sides in the middle. And sorry. And what we're going to do is just place it down flat on the surface. What you can do is you can have the hem at one end. So if you grab it on one of those hem points and fold it in half, so it's now flat, 2 layers on top of each other. And if I put it all flat on top of each other, it just kind of, it's sitting as one nice flat piece with a fold here at this end and a fold here at this end. And I'm going to mark those 2 folded ends with pins. Sorry. But I'm going to pop the pins in so that they're slightly different to all of the other pins. So I'm popping this pin in to mark that fold on the folded edge, not the open edge. So this pin is just poking out on the folded edge where that crease was, marking that end point. And then it's still nice and flat with that pin at one end. If I move it all the way along right to the other end, we can put another pin in there to mark that point there. So if you think about those 2 pins are now marking the 2 halfway points on the ruffle. And then what we need to do is mark the quarter way points. So I'm going to open out the loop of fabric again. And this time I've got in front of me, right in front of me here, those 2 halfway point pins that we made before. And this time if I sit those directly on top of each other, so this is the pin from the top and that's the pin from the bottom, they're going to sit directly on top of each other. And again, flatten out the 2 pieces like this. Go all the way to the other end. And then I want to pop 2 more pins in to mark the 2 new folded ends that we've got. So one here, and I'm going to put them in exactly the same way as I just did those other 2 so that I can decipher them from all these other pins that I've put in down the open end. So we've got 1 pin in here. And then if we go to the other end, I'm going to pop another pin in here. So that means now that if I was to open out the loop of fabric, we've got a pin like this, splitting the loop into quarters. So 1 here, 2 here, 3 here, and 4 there. There we go. Okay, so now, hopefully that's good for everyone. What I'm going to do now is, so what we want to do is treat each quarter kind of individually.
Okay.
And so you need to set your sewing machine to the longest stitch setting that you've got. So still on straight stitch, but if you can make your stitch length longer. So mine is a electronic machine, so I've set my stitch length to number 5. But if you've got a dial, you'll just need to twist the dial on your stitch length to as long as it goes. And that is because we're going to do some stitching in between these pins, and we just want them to be nice long stitches, because then we're going to gather them and pull the thread to make the ruffle. So I think I might do one first just to show you. You can join in if you want to, but if you'd rather, just wait and watch me do this first one, and then we can all do the next ones together. So I'm going to find one of my quarter-way point markers. It's just here. In fact, I might just pop a little pen mark right inside the seam allowance here so that I know where I'm starting, because it's not a fabric pen, but I'm doing it right on the inside of the fabric, so no one's ever going to see it. And then I'm going to work my way down and see where the next quarter-way point is. It's here. So I'm going to do another little pen mark there. You don't need to do that, but it just might help so that you don't go stitching way too far. And what we're going to do is, starting just before this first quarter marker point, just about 1 centimetre in from the open edge. So with the 2 open edges, we want to sew, yeah, about 1 centimetre in from just before that quarter-way marker to just after the next quarter-way marker point that you get to. So I'll do this one first and I'll show you, and then you'll kind of see what I mean. You can start sewing now straight away if that makes perfect sense to you, but if you want to just stop and watch, then please do. So I've set my sewing machine to the longest stitch setting. Here's that quarter-way marker that I'm going to start at. Put a little pen mark there. And I'm going to start just about 2 centimetres before that marker. And I'm sewing about 1 centimetre in from the outside edge. Now you need to make sure that you do no reversing here. So you need to, and also it's quite handy if you leave quite long tails of thread. So you've got something to grab hold of when you do the ruffling. So I'm going to put the needle straight down and then start stitching through both layers of fabric on this open edge, about 1 centimetre in. Ooh, I'm careering off path a bit. It's okay, it won't matter. Okay, my next quarter-way point is just approaching here. You can see it here. So I'm going to sew to just after that, and then take my fabric out, leave quite a nice long tail again. Oh, I can't see my cutter. There we go. I'm just going to bring it over here so that you can see. I let it kind of gather a bit as well. So I've got my first one point here, and I've stitched from just before that to just after that. Okay, so we want to do that for each quarter, but you want your hopefully I'll bring it a bit closer. Oh yeah, that's better. So for the next quarter, for the next piece of stitching, you don't want to sew over the stitching that you've done. So start your stitching again just before here. So you want to have a bit of an overlap with your stitches, but you want them to, the next lot to be just to the side, and start here just before that marker, and then sew again to just after the next marker, and keep your working your way all around. Charlotte, does that make sense?
That does make sense. I'm going in.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to crack on. If that doesn't make sense to anybody, please tell me in the chat and I'll try and explain it again. I'll keep mine on nice and oh, another thing to say is don't remove your marker pins. Keep those in place. Sorry, I should have said that because we will need those again.
Okay.
Okay. No more questions on chat. I think we're up to date.
Okay.
Well done.
Yeah.
I think maybe other people are still. Oh no, Ashley, looks like you're done, Ashley. Yeah, you'll see. Oh, great, thumbs up. Oh, Lauren's done. Hello, Lauren. Oh, is that a cricket mug? Looks like that is a cricket mug. I think Lauren's got a cricket. Yeah, I recognised it. Is that from the press show? Did you go to the press show? Yeah. Oh, nice. Brilliant. Okay. Maybe give me a little yes in the chat if you're good, or a thumbs up again. I'm going to ask Charlotte a question whilst you're still sewing. So I don't know if you will follow Charlotte. You should on social media if you don't. Because her Instagram is really so beautiful. But it's really just so full of colour, and it's just, you can just sort of, just so joyful. So Charlotte, I struggle with being bold with colours. I love
Yeah.
colour. How do you, like, where do you get your inspiration for the colours that you put together? And like, what do you just, how do you do that?
I think, I mean, my taste is something that's definitely evolved over time. And I think it's people sometimes jump in and go straight on with the colour all over the walls, and then it's not quite right, or the vibe of the room doesn't really work, and then they just feel like I've made a mistake, I'll just go back to a safe colour. So I think starting small is a really good way to do it. Maybe start with
Downstairs
some
loo.
cushions
Oh.
or some throws or something, like just bring the colour in slowly so you can really feel what, you know, what brings you joy. You might love yellow, but actually in your own home, maybe yellow isn't right. Maybe yellow's right for somebody else's home that you love, but not necessarily for your own. And trying the colours first is just
The
so
cushions
key.
is great for that though, isn't it, though, actually?
Yeah, so get your cushions, and you can try them in different rooms. You know, you can have them maybe in the bedroom, or if they're not right for there, you can move them to your living room. So it's just a really good place to start slowly bringing the colour in and make sure it works for your home and things like that.
Yeah. Do you sorry.
I love so like all the colour psychology and stuff like that as well. So if you just Google it on the internet, there's so much amazing stuff about that and about how different colours make you feel. And so it's all about, what do you want your home to do for you? My home, I just want it to be uplifting. I don't want it to be calm. I just want it to be vibrant and stuff. So that's where I go with my colours. I want it to be, you know, vibrant and things like that.
Oh, it's so beautiful, honestly. I just love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Right. I think we might be good to do the next, to actually start the ruffle. So what we want to do, so you should now have your kind of ruffly loop, which is stitched all around the bottom edge, and then at your quarterway marker points, you've got like an overlap in stitching. So I've got lots of these threads hanging down. I'm not going to cut these threads off. Oh, look, I did a little proper overlap there. That wasn't very clever. Silly me. Hopefully that will be okay. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my overhead camera because we're going to join the ruffle onto the, where's it gone? You need now to put out in front of you the front piece of the fabric. So the square of fabric, which is 42 centimeters square. And it needs to be right side facing upwards. Oh, I love seeing all the patterned fabrics. Oh my gosh. You must all send me or share online pictures of your finished cushions.
Oh yes, I would love to see everyone.
See all the fabrics. Yeah, so nice. Okay, so we've got the main front piece of fabric in front. I did press this, but obviously I've been a bit careless with it since. So you've got the main front piece of fabric in front of you, right side facing up. And then we're going to start pinning the ruffle to the front of the fabric. Now, if you start with, get one of those quarterway marker points, and you want to place that on the top edge of your fabric like this. So you've got the raw edge of the front piece of fabric lined up with the raw edges of the ruffle. And the quarterway point that we've got, the pin point here, that marker point, wants to be sat at the halfway point on this edge here. So the quarterway points, we're going to have markers as the kind of the halfway points on each of the four sides. So let me show you. I'll put the first one, I'm going to put a pin in here. And then if I work my way around, the next quarterway point on the ruffle is here. So I'm going to place that one there, that halfway point, and pop a pin in.
Do we need to make sure that our thread tails are hanging out?
Yeah, that would be really helpful if your thread tails are hanging out. And then the third one, the third marker point is going to go here. Pop another pin in through all the layers. And then the last one. So another thing as well, just make sure that you're not twisting the ruffle at all as you go, and that it's, you know, there are no twists and turns in it as you're working your way around. So that last one is going to go on this side here. There we are. Pull my threads out. Okay, so this is where it's slightly more helpful that mine is a bit smaller so that you can see it in its entirety, hopefully. So can you see you've got lots of excess fabric on each of the corners, but if you imagine once we ruffle it, that's going to be all ruffled around the corners, but we've got it nice and joined up at the, kind of along the part of the flat bits, along those flat edges. Is that making sense?
Yeah.
Oh, good. So usually if you're making, like, say, gathering a skirt or something, you would, that line of stitching that we did, the ruffle stitching with the long stitches just around the top, if you're doing it for a skirt or something that was really full, that was gathered, you'd usually do 2 lines of those stitches, and then you'd use those 2 threads to pull and gather the whole of the skirt. But because this is quite fiddly and we're going around corners, it's going to be so much easier for us doing the ruffles in kind of 4 sections, 1 for each corner and side. So hopefully you'll find it much easier. Okay, so now I'm going to hold on a sec. Oh, I think you're nearly there. I think you're good. I don't want to jump too far ahead. You still look a little bit busy, most of you, so I might hang on a mo. Okay, I'm going to start. So, right, let me go a little bit closer. So I'm going to start with this corner here, this ruffle here, this bit. So what we need to do is take one of the threads, which is for this piece. So I'm going to take this piece of thread here, and I'm going to start pulling it. I'm sorry. And so if you can see, as I pull it, this fabric starts to gather and looks so satisfyingly ruffled and beautiful. And you just need to gather, and you can pull the other end of that piece as well. So I'll pull a little bit up here too. And you need to pull until that piece of fabric, oh, look, you can start to see it all coming together, until that piece of fabric is gathered exactly the right amount so that the fabric now fits into that corner, the ruffle now fits into that corner of the fabric. It's very satisfying, this step, I tell you, I love it. And then you can even out your gathers a little bit. So you do want quite a bit of gather in the corner, because if you don't have enough ruching in the corner, then your fabric will struggle to kind of fan out really nicely and make a nice corner shape. But then you also want to make sure that you've got a little bit of gathering along the straighter edges as well. So if you can kind of try and kind of evenly distribute it, and then you can just pop some more pins in again, so that the raw edges are lined up. So the raw edge of the ruffle is lined up with the raw edge of your cushion front piece. I'm putting my pins in the wrong way, but never mind. I'll swap them in a mo. Okay, I'm going to put another pin in here. And then on the corner, so ordinarily you'd want to have a nice kind of crisp corner to your fabric, but actually with having a ruffle, it's impossible. You just it ends up being really messy if you try and make the corner of your cushion like a right angle. So instead, just go with the curve. So you can see it kind of naturally makes a bit of a curve in the ruffle like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the corners of the cushion slightly curved. You'll find it's much, much neater in the long run if you you just roll with that rather than trying to make it a right angle. So I'm going to put a couple more pins in, just trying to hold these ruffles in place. So there we go. I've got my first corner and those two sides there. This one's going in a little bit. I'll put that out a bit. Pinned in place and ruffled. And honestly, I mean, I definitely am talking from experience. It's sorry. It's so much easier ruffling in quarters rather than trying to do the whole thing and making it fit. So once you've done one, you can just move it around and then repeat that same process for the other 3 corners. Well, this is the one where oh, it's working. Okay, good. There we go. So I'm going to pull on the thread again. Try not to pull too hard. You don't want your thread obviously to snap. So just kind of ease the fabric around nice and gently in your in that corner. You'll find it will be slightly more tricky if you've got thicker fabric. So just take your time, no hurry.
So Kate, my mine is just hardly ruffling, but my my longest stitch is only a 4. Do you think that's the problem?
Might be because because it's a really old machine and you can't get as long a stitch. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you hold it up? Let's have a look. Can you hold it up to your camera?
Yeah, so you can see it's just when I'm pulling, it's just hardly moving.
Try pulling the thread on the other side. No, not the other side. Sorry, the same point that you were at, but yeah, the underneath.
Okay.
Right, that might not work now that you've started pulling, but try the other end of that point. You know, the other do you know what I mean? Because it is easier to pull one of the threads rather than the other.
Okay, yeah, it's a tiny bit better.
Now, what I would say for you then, maybe in the future, Charlotte, is just get a needle and thread and just tack in and out all the way along, like kind of like centimetre long stitches. You'll have a slightly more chunky ruffle.
Yeah.
But
nothing wrong with the chunky ruffle.
Nothing wrong with the chunky ruffle. Hannah Ratner, any tips if thread keeps snapping? Okay, so firstly, maybe try a different thread that's like a new polyester thread would be good. And also then that other thing that I said was, you know, we've just done one line of stitching. You could do 2 lines of stitching, just kind of like 2 or 3 millimeters away from each other. And then when you pull the thread, you can pull the 2 threads at once. And that gives you a lot more like purchase when you're pulling. So that would be what I would recommend for you, Hannah. Okay, that would help. Well, that will definitely help. How's it going with you, Charlotte, with you? Is that any better?
Yeah, much better. Slow, but better.
Oh, that's okay. To be honest, this bit does take, I've made another one this afternoon and I've made quite a few. So this bit can take quite a long time. So I might just sort of plow on a bit with it because I don't want you to rush it. And then after this, wow, we're on the home straight. You guys can just enjoy doing this bit whilst I show you what the last bit is. Oops. There we go.
Can you just talk me through?
Oh, sorry, carry on.
Sorry, can you just talk me through the pinning bit again? So now I'm getting there with my ruffle now. So can you just talk me through the pinning again?
Okay, so when you feel like the ruffle is in a good place, I usually put the first kind of adjust your ruffle so that the gathering so that it's kind of where you want it to be. When you're happy, I usually start on the corner. So when you think, okay, I've got a nice few ruffles on that corner, pop a pin in or a couple of pins in. I mean, quite haphazardly because you've got loads of bits of fabric here. So it's not like it's not neat pinning. It's just kind of trying to hold all of those bits of fabric in place. On the corner, and then I'll put another pin in just up here on the ruffly bit, just to make sure that the other bits of fabric in between on the straighter edges are held in place as well. but it's not this, the pins aren't particularly neatly put in, they're just kind of there to make sure that everything's in the same place. There we go. So I've done 2 of the corners. Can you see like that there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
Kathleen, your thread keeps frequency. So Kathleen, I'd say the same for you. So maybe if you take your ruffle off again and just where we did, so do the stitching in exactly the same way. Where's Kathleen? Can I see? Oh, there you are. Hello. Where you did the stitching in between those quarter pinpoints before, do 1 line of stitching and then another line of stitching just next to it with your longest stitch setting, and then you can grab 2 of the pieces of thread at once, and it just gives you a bit more purchase on the fabric, and you'll find it easier to get the gather. Oh yeah, Kim's used extra strong thread as you've got ticking. Oh, ticking will look so beautiful, Kim. But that's great that you've used extra strong thread. Perfect. You got the thread. I think polyester thread will be better than cotton because it will be kind of, although it's not as soft, I think it will glide a bit more smoothly. I use the Gutermann sew-all thread. I think it's brilliant. It's really strong. You can use it with any fabric. So I always have like a few colours of the Gutermann sew-all thread in stock, because it just seems to be, it's just brilliant. I think it just seems to work with everything. If ever I've used an older thread, like I've got some of those really beautiful old wooden ones even from my gran, the cotton just doesn't, it just breaks all the time. So it's really important to have you know, good thread in your machine. Another really good tip is to make sure that you have the same thread. Always make sure you have, I'm sure you probably do this anyway, but it's just worth noting, have the same thread on the bobbin as you do on the spool on the top, because if you have exactly the same threads, they kind of just behave in exactly the same way, and you'll have much less chance of anything going wrong then as well. Right, penultimate ruffly corner. There we go. So I'll put, I don't know if, I'm sure you probably all saw because we got all of our fabric from this lovely fabric place called Fabrics Galore, and they were very kind to give us a discount. And I don't think that discount code expires, by the way. So I should hold on to that because they have such an amazing selection of fabrics.
Yeah, they really do. So I could have gone crazy there.
No, it was so good because I just I upholstered a chair a few weeks ago and I really needed some lovely boucle fabric, and they had the best selection of anywhere. They had it in loads of colors and it was a really good price, and then with the discount as well, it's even better. So yeah, hang on to the discount code. I'll put it on the follow-up email actually with the video of this, just to remind you. It's not like an affiliate or anything, it's just a lovely code that they've shared to share with everybody. But they don't do threads or anything like that, so you can't get any threads or haberdashery stuff from there. So I usually get mine either from like the local sewing shop in where I live, or John Lewis has got everything. They definitely sell that Gutermann. Oh, here we go. Kim has just asked such a question. Any recommendations for online haberdasheries to get thread zips and cushion pads from? I can't seem to find a reliable. Yeah, I do, honestly, I do get a lot from John Lewis in that sense, because they just seem to have, in terms of threads and stuff. Where else? Downelm is really good for cushion pads.
Ooh, that's a good tip.
Cushion pads from there before. And zips, let me check. I can't remember if they sell zips on, they probably do that, those on John Lewis as well. Let me check. Let's see. Yeah, they do. Good old John Lewis. There we go. I mean, it's nice to support your local independent sewing shop if you can, but they do stock most stuff in John Lewis. Oh, that one's not working. Let me try this. Oh, here we go. Right, so on my last, Hobbycraft, that's another good, of course. Do you know what? I don't think of Hobbycraft so much, it doesn't spring to mind for sewing stuff. It springs to my mind for kind of like other crafty stuff. It's funny, isn't it? But yeah, Hobbycraft is a great shout as well. I'm sure they're quite reasonably priced in there too. Oops. Right, I'm on my last one. Just ruffle the corner up a little bit. And then we're nearly done, guys. How jolly exciting. I want a little bit more of a ruffle in that corner, I reckon. There we go. Maybe we should, no, I don't want to rush you all to finish. That's what we'd like. We need to have pictures shared and sent afterwards when you've finished, because honestly, I'm desperate to see what you all make. Oops. Okay, so there we go. So take time doing this as well. So if you're watching the recording, take time to make sure you've got the ruffles nice and evenly spread. So a little bit more around the corners than on the straight edges, but you know, you still want a little bit of a ruffle on the straight edges. So that's it. I've done this one. So yeah, they do. Do you know what? I did actually buy a sewing pattern in Hobbycraft the other day, and it was half price there as well. That's a really good shout, Bernadine. Thank you. They've got some great sewing patterns there. I bought one. I'm not going to say what it was actually, because I think I might keep it as a surprise for somebody who might be on here. But yeah, it's great. Okay, so if you maybe just stop and have a little look at mine now, and I'll tell you what we're going to do next. So I have pinned, I've ruffled and I've pinned my ruffle on all the way around the outside edge. It's quite curvy in the corners, so I've not followed the right angles of the fabric. I've curved it because it just looks so much nicer. There's ends of thread all over the place here, so you probably would want to neaten them off a little bit now, so you don't get in a flap with thread all over the place. I'm not going to cut them super short, but just make them a little bit shorter than what they are. And then what I'm going to do is, and you want to take this step really steady as well, because you're going through lots of layers of fabric, but I'm going to sew pretty much on that stitch line that was 1 centimetre in from the edge already, through the ruffle and the front fabric. So obviously you need to be a bit careful because you've got all the ruffly bits, you've got lots of layers of fabric, but your machine should be absolutely fine because you're not kind of going through loads of layers at once. It will find a way in between the ruffles. And we want to stitch all the way around. So follow the curve of those curvy cornery bits there. And you do want to reverse at the beginning and the end this time as well. And also I'm taking my stitch length back down, so it's not on the longest stitch setting, but because we've got quite a lot of bulk with the fabric, I'm having my stitch length very slightly longer than usual. So whereas I would usually have it on a number 3, I'm going to keep it just on like a 3.5 instead. Okay, so I'll take it over to my sewing machine. And there we go. Oh, I've put all these pins in the wrong way. I'm usually really good at not doing that, but hey ho. Okay, off we go. So I'm going to reverse at the beginning. And the machine's handling it fine. Just going to pop it down in the corner, work around that curve a little bit. There we go. And just keep working all the way around the cushion. Well, I know a question that we wanted to ask you actually, if you're if you have a moment, if you are having a nice time, we'd love to know if there are any other things that you'd like us to run as like other charity workshops like this, because it's just such a nice thing to do. And if there's anything in particular that you'd like to learn how to sew, please write it in the chat, and then we can, Charlotte and I can brainstorm ideas together and maybe put some more on as well.
When I've mastered my ruffle, my next project is going to be ruffle edge napkins. So I'm going to be ruffling everything now.
Yeah. Even like a little ruffle rara skirt for your little girl. How cute would that be?
And I can do a matching one for a teddy.
Yeah, so cute. Do you know what colour or fabrics you're going to use for your napkins?
So I've got some lilac fabric already for the napkin. And for the ruffle edge, I've got some pink gingham.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Really like springy and
yeah.
Perfect, because I think it's going to be really sunny this weekend, by the way. Did you know that? Just checked.
I hope so. After the
it
rain today.
did not stop raining today.
Yeah.
I just checked the forecast and I think it's going to be lovely. I even eat outside. It's going to be like, I think about 16 degrees, which is...
Wow, that's a nice treat for the weekend.
I know. Okay, so I'm just stitching all the way around because we've got pins in place holding the ruffle. It's all good. Well, the last thing that you'd want to happen on this step is to run out of bobbin thread. Oh golly, that would be such a nightmare. So,
thank you for reminding me, because I've just checked and mine is really low.
Is it? Oh golly, honestly, if you got to the end of that bit of stitching and you'd run out of bobbin thread, you would not be very happy, I tell you that. So Kim has said she'd like to make lined curtains. Curtains is a great one. Really popular, not too hard, not as hard as you might think. And quilt, a placemat or a cushion, that's a good idea. A quilted placemat would be nice. Yeah, quilting. Okay. So do you mean just quilting, or do you mean patchwork and quilting? Do you even know what though? I mean, I don't want to be rude, but does that question make sense? Even so, patchwork is like when you get, oh, I've got an example actually just here, I'll show you. Where is it? So here's like a patchwork cushion cover, but this is not quilted. This is just patchwork. So this is just shapes stitched together like kind of jigsaw-y to make a flat piece of fabric out of lots of pieces of fabric. And then if you quilt it, you have like this on the top and then a layer of batting, like fluffy, slightly thicker fabric in the middle, and then cotton on the bottom, like a sandwich. And then you stitch lines through your patchwork fabric to...
I've actually got a quilt project that's on the go, if this helps.
Stop it, have you?
Yeah.
Oh
so
my
you can
gosh.
see the batting there.
Yeah.
And then I have just stitched along all of the detail. The cat's been sleeping on it, that's nice. I've just stitched along all of the detailing along there. And then you can see on the back of the fabric, I don't know if you can see that, but then it just comes through. So the back's just a plain piece of pattern fabric, and you can get all the stitch lines.
Oh my gosh, Charlotte, that's amazing.
Yeah,
so
this is for my little boy.
Oh, that's so lovely. Either would be great. Okay. Maybe we'll talk about that. Applique, yeah, great. These are all quite good things for with you as well, Charlotte, because they're all kind of interiors-y things. Apart from
Yeah,
Faye, who would like
lovely.
to learn how to make a simple loose dress, but we could all make one of those to wear whilst we're making our interiors look lovely.
Love that idea.
Yeah. RNL, I would love any donations. It's run by volunteers. Yeah. Oh my God, I love the RNLI. Every time I go see any RNLI stuff, I feel absolutely compelled to donate to them. Okay, a dress as well. Oh. Okay, right, let me crack on because we're actually doing brilliantly for time. Oh my gosh, I think I'm going to finish bang on. So sorry to everybody who's watching that back and had to record it and had to sit through that little bit of diversion. So now I've stitched this through. So as you can see on this side, and we've got the stitching all around the outside like that, and take all of my pins out. But my ruffle is in place. If I open it out, you can see it's going to look so cute. I'm going to keep it like this for now. And then, do you remember right at the beginning, we stitched the hems on the 2 envelope pieces of fabric? Well, we're going to need those again now. So let me just move my camera a bit. There we go. So I'm going to take one of these pieces, and I made these 2 pieces slightly wider just to give us a little bit of leeway with all of this fabric. So what they're essentially going to do is one like that and one like that. And then we're going to pin those around the edge, and that will make the back envelope piece of our cushion. But we'll do one at a time. So I'm going to place this piece on first, and it's right side facing down. So it's right sides together. The right side of the front is going to be facing the right side of the back. Lay it on top so that your it should just poke out either side by 1/2 centimetre. That's because I just made it slightly bigger because you've got so much bulk to all of this fabric. I just wanted it, I thought that might be a little bit easier for you. And then we're going to pin through all of the layers down those 3 edges. Like this. There we go. Do you do your do you work on your quilt in the evenings, Charlotte?
No, because so I would love to sit in front of the TV and do it.
Yeah.
But my husband will not have the big lights on when we've got the TV on in the evening.
Yeah, I do get
So
that.
so I either have to do it upstairs without him, or I just do it. Yeah, sometimes if I've got an afternoon free.
Yeah. Oh. Okay, so I've popped these pins through here on this side because it's much easier to put them on this side once you're attaching it. But then actually, oh no, yeah. So actually, I'm going to turn it over and we're going to take those pins out and replace them and put them on this side. And that's because this line of stitching that we've already done through the ruffle, that's going to be our guide line of stitching to then sew through all of the layers through the back as well. So if we know that that stitching is in exactly the right place, so if we stitch through it again, then we're going to be good. So I just find it easier to put the pins on the other side first, just to make sure that everything's lined up properly, and then replace them over onto the back. If you find it easy enough just to put them through on this side straight away, then go for it. Whatever works for you is absolutely fine. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over again. So we've got one of those pieces in position. So I'm going to take the other piece, and again, right side facing down, and I'm going to line up that edge, and it's just overlapping very slightly on these 2 sides. That's fine. And again, I'll just put a few pins in. I'll just do one up here this time, one on each side. There we go. And then that's good. So then flip it over and then carry on these pins all the way around so that we're holding this piece in place as well. And then it's just one more line of stitching, using this line that we've got as a guide here, which is handy for me because mine's in hot pink, but yours, you'll still be able to see yours, I'm sure, through all of those layers. There we go. And over here. Okay, so I've pinned it all the way around the outside. Just double check I've not got any pins left on this side. No, I haven't. So now I'm going to pop it under my machine and stitch on top of this previous line of stitching that we've got here. So as you can see, we're poking out a little bit from the other side, but that's fine. We can trim anything that we want to at the end. So I'll go over to the machine. And then I'm just going to literally stitch on top of that line of stitching that's already there. And I am going to reverse at the beginning at the end as well, just to hold everything in place. There we go. I think I'm done. Hurrah! Okay, so final thing to do is trim the corners a little bit because we've got loads of fabric here. So I'm just going to trim that off in the corners just so that when we turn the cushion right side out, we've got nice, neat, curvy corners. They're not too puckery. You can trim as well down the sides a little bit if you'd like to, because we've got that extra piece of extra length on the sides, but you don't need to if you don't want to. It's up to you. And then the moment of truth. Oh my gosh. You know, you also can just cut all of these long legs of throwing. In fact, when you turn it around the right way, you'll notice that you'll probably have some of the hems and bits of stitching that you can still see. So there's a little bit of time that you'll need to spend with some embroidery scissors. Oh my God, it looks so cute. I love it. Oh, I love that the mustard on mustard. Don't you, with the linen gingham combo.
So pretty.
That looks so lovely. Or could even applique who suggested applique? Could even applique something onto the front of our ruffle cushions, I suppose, couldn't we?
Love that idea.
So here's the envelope bit on the back. But yeah, like I said, there might be a few bits of thread just hanging out all over the place. And then look, oh look, I've got bits of pink thread all over the shop here. But that's fine, you will have, because we had lots of bits of thread. And you might even find, if you kind of look closely in here, so you can see a little bit of stitching in here, but you can just pull that out with an unpicker or a pair of embroidery scissors. But yeah, that's it, all done. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love them. They're just so lovely. And to tell you what, if that was in John Lewis or the likes, it would cost a small fortune.
It would, it really would.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? I'm so pleased. Oh, thank you, Fiona. So somebody just says, does it matter where you start sewing at all? Does it matter where you start sewing all the bits together? What's the top? What's the bottom? It really doesn't matter. You can start wherever you like. I wouldn't start at a corner, actually. I would start at a straight bit, just to give yourself a bit of a run up to the corner. But yeah, there we go. So where are you? Are you still ruffling?
My ruffles are done. I'm ready to sew. I'm just
snipping
off.
Oh, golly.
I'm ready to go.
Well done. Maybe you, yeah, do. Oh, can't get close. Oh, you can get your phone and do a little close up. Yeah, maybe. Well, unless it's. Well. So we would both love to see anybody's finished cushions. So I'll pop both of our details on the follow-up email that I send after this. And if you want to put them online, we'd be delighted if you tagged us so that we could see them as well. Similarly, if you have any questions, if you come unstuck and you're saying again at home and you're like, oh, I can't remember what to do, or it's just not making sense, just email me or message me on Instagram or whatever, and I'll get back to you and help you. Oh, Hannah's still unpicking. That's all right. Just you know, as long as you're enjoying yourself, Hannah, it's fine. But yeah, just honestly ask away. We're here to help you. But hopefully you've had a lovely time. And we are bang on schedule. How brilliant! I mean, because I hadn't really. It was a bit of a guesstimate. In terms of how long I thought it was going to take. But yeah, thank you so much. Have you got anything to add, Charlotte?
No, just thank you everyone so much for joining in with us, and it's just so lovely that we could raise so much money to go towards something that I think we all feel is very worthy of our money at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'd love to do it again. So yeah, if anyone else has got any other ideas or you think of anything, let us know and we'll see what we can do.
Oh, thanks guys. Thank you, Charlotte. And yeah, I'll confirm the exact final amount on the email as well, but it's just mind blowing how much we've managed to raise. Can you believe it? Just from this lovely evening of fun, yeah, we're giving like 800 and something pounds. It actually makes me feel really emotional. I just can't believe it. So thank you. Oh, anyway, take care everybody. Oh look. Lots of love, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye everyone. Thank you.